All right, let's finish up here. So before we move on to the paragraph that we're going to write or fill in, I wanted to put this full screen and then just kind of give you a minute so that you could pause the video, make sure you have everything in case you missed anything. So if you needed any of these first boxes, go ahead and pause the video now. And if you need any of these boxes, go ahead and pause the video now. And any of these boxes, go ahead and pause now. And then these last boxes, go ahead and pause now. All right, so moving on to our paragraph. And if you remember, this is a skeleton paragraph. So I'm giving you sentence starters, and it's your job to put your own words into the blanks so that you get a nice, free-flowing paragraph that makes sense, okay? And the main focus of this paragraph is just making sure that you're getting that proof, that evidence. Any opinion that you have, no, take that back. Most opinions that you have are right if you could prove them. And that's all that matters. Can you prove it? I might disagree with your opinion, but if you use proof from the text and your proof makes sense with your opinion, then you're going to be right even if I disagree. So keep that in mind as we put this paragraph together. So the best way to do it is just to start reading it and make sure that the words that you put in there make sense with what you're reading. So here we go. The title of my text is, we said earlier that it doesn't really have a title, so we're just going to call it Hercules. Notice the underlining. You could also put it in parentheses. The title of my text is Hercules, and I believe it was called that because this myth was about, you guessed it, the hero Hercules. A quote from the myth that supports the title of my text. Now, I have to go back and find a quote, and if I remember correctly, the beginning says Hercules was so amazing that the king was jealous of him. That's a great quote to show that this story is all about Hercules. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these first three sentences. Once I get them into my paragraph, I'm going to take that second one out about him living in Greece. That doesn't really matter for the purpose of this paragraph. So I want to keep it in the quotes. So I'm not going to delete my quotes, but I am going to get rid of this second sentence right here because I don't really need that one. All right, and back to reading. The myth was written in first, second, or third point of view, and I have to pick one. So remember, I am number one, you are number two, everyone else is number three. So if this story is written by Hercules, I am Hercules, I went on a journey, then first person. If this story is written like a self-help book, you can be strong, you can be determined, you can do it, then it's going to be second person. And if it's written with a lot of he's and she's in it, he was this, he was that, then you're looking at third person. So if I go back and look, I know right off the bat it says Hercules was a strong man, not I, he, Hercules. He lived in Greece, not I lived in Greece, he lived in Greece. Therefore, he wanted to get rid of Hercules. He set difficult tasks. Lots of he, she's, no I's. And so this is definitely third person. And what I want to point out is down here, there's an I. I am Hercules. But when somebody is talking, that doesn't count. When you're considering I am number one, you are number two, he, she's number three. Because anytime you have dialogue, somebody's going to say I. You're really looking at the narrator. What is the narrator using? So I'm going to come back to my paragraph and I'm going to take out everything but third person point of view. All right. So the myth was written in third person point of view because the narrator was, hint, hint, if it's first person, the narrator is an insider. If it's third person, the narrator is an outsider. So easy. I know that it's third person because the narrator was an outsider. All right. Oh, I'm sorry, outsider in the story. No period there. There we go. So the myth was written in third person point of view because the narrator is an outsider in the story. An example to prove the point of view is, I'm just looking for any quote that shows that Hercules is not the narrator and that the narrator is an outsider. I can pretty much use any sentence in this story. So I'm going to use, I don't know. Fix my zoom. I'm going to use this one because I really could honestly use any sentence. And I don't want to use the same one because I'm writing a paragraph and you don't want your paragraphs to be too repetitive. I know that earlier in the other video we did use the same quote more than once, but we don't want to do that in this paragraph because it is a paragraph and it should flow. The author's main purpose for creating this myth was to inform, entertain, or persuade. So inform means to explain something, entertain is to entertain you, and to persuade is to convince you of something. So I would say that, excuse me, I would say that the author's main purpose for creating this myth is definitely to entertain. This is similar to how we have Batman, Superman, Thor, Spider-Man, whatever other superhero, X-Men. Just like we have entertaining superheroes, they had entertaining heroes. And so this was definitely written to entertain the reader. And I'm going to change about to with because it'll make more sense. With a hero story. All right. Coming up to the end. The main character's name was, you should already know. An adjective to describe this character is that he was blank. Now I need to pick a describing word that's going to describe Hercules. And we already said in our chart above that he was strong, he was smart, he was determined, he persevered. I can choose any of those adjectives. You can choose any of those adjectives. As long as you can find a quote to back it up, any of those adjectives will be correct. So I'm going to say that he was strong. You don't have to use strong. You probably will because I'm doing this with you and you're going to use what I used, but you don't have to. You can use brave. You can use smart. You can use determined. And then just go find a quote for that. But I'm going to use strong. And so I'm going to find a quote showing that he was strong. And here we are. He charged at the giant. He lifted him up and threw him. So, yeah, if you're picking up and throwing giants, then you're probably pretty strong. And so I'm just going to throw that quote in there, and then my paragraph is done. So there I have a beautiful paragraph. If I know I type faster than you, so if you're not done, feel free to pause here. Make sure you have all of that information on your doc. All right? But really quickly, I would like to talk to you about Section 4 and Section 5. Section 4 is easy peasy. You're going to grade the myth. Give the myth a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. It's your opinion. Just make sure you explain why you're giving it that grade. Now let's look at Section 5, Mythical Connections. This is the section where you have to really think. I don't want you to blow this section off. I don't want you to be like, oh no, I can't think of anything, and move on. Myths are always retold in different ways. And so there are many stories that we tell kids today. There's many movies that we make today that have their roots in a mythical story. And it's just been changed enough to be modern. And so I really want you to stop, pump the brakes, wait here, and really think and ask yourself, does this story remind me of any other story that I can think of? I can think of one right now. Right off the top of my head, I can think of a cartoon movie with a big green guy that this reminds me of. And the reason it reminds me of is because of the king's motivation. It doesn't even have to be about Hercules. I'm reminded about Shrek with this myth due to the king's motivation. The king didn't want Shrek taking over, so he sent him on something that he thought he would fail. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Myths are always reused in different ways, and if you think hard enough, you'll be able to find a story that reminds you enough of your myth. All right, so get this one done, because on Monday you're getting your second myth that you have to analyze by yourself or with your group. All right, guys, see you later.